Sifu Wiley, thanks for joining me again. Great to have you back.
Thanks so much, Russ. Always a pleasure to chat with you, especially about things related to the Kung Fu life.
Exactly. Love it. Love your background. It's so nice to see the ancestors and the
Thanks.
signboards and
Wait, there's Sifu hiding,
so great
looking
to see
over my
Seagull.
shoulder. Yeah,
Oh, so great. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for coming back again. I appreciate it. We covered part one of the book, which was a lot of history and other items, cultural relevance and context to help us understand kind of the world in which five ancestor boxing was formed. And now we're moving on to part two. And part two is essentially the foundation. So it includes things about kind of what does the style really mean? What is it about? What are its ideas and formulas and concepts that kind of help make it a specific boxing style. So we're not looking at the context. We're actually just now starting to peel the outer layer of the onion and look inside the art.
yeah.
Um, and
Like,
and with that, the first section talks about the five ancestor styles. So it's called five ancestor boxing. So Sifu, can you tell us what those five ancestors are and explain kind of how they inform the art in their own unique way?
sure. But first, I'm going to let you read some Chinese above my head
Oh, okay,
in our
sure, we'll do.
signboard up here. So,
We'll do.
what we can't see, it says five ancestor fist or five ancestor boxing.
Right.
And then let's start over here
Yep. It
with
says
this one.
Dazun's body, so Damo respecting body. And the next one is Lohan's step, and then it's Taizu's feet, and then it's the same as heaven. That's one of the many names of the Monkey King. Same as heaven, palm, so the monkey palm, and then lastly is the white crane's fingers.
Nice. So those are the five styles that make up the bulk of Five Ancestor Fist. Trog Bang did study a lot of other styles in more than those, including Northern Shaolin and others. But he really focused on these, and these are main styles of the Fujian area, popular in Quanzhou and throughout Fujian, of which there are 32 styles named in Fujian.
Wow.
So these are five of them that make up the bulk of the art or the essence of the art. So like you were reading on our signboard from Ben Kiam, we attribute specific things like white crane fingers and monkey palms, but it's actually much broader than that,
Right.
as you know. And on chapter 4 in the book, which you can't see because of my
You can
background,
see
there
mine
you
pretty
go.
well.
Inner gate. It gives much more layers of detail to each
Hmm.
one. So the tat in Hokkien, we call the Damo or the Bodhidharma, we call it Tat Chun. So Tat Chun body.
Hmm.
And what that is, and much of the Tat Chun body is in section 2 of the book, discussions of it. So we're talking about the breathing methods. We're talking about the mental methods or the mind, right? We're
Hmm.
talking about the physical outer body, conditioning, stretching, flexibility, and things like that. And then we're talking about different training methods,
Right.
which are in a later section of the book. Um, so um, we also have the Tai Cho Kun or Tai Zu Chuan, right?
Hmm.
And they say the feet of the grand ancestor. Um, and it's powerful punching and all kinds of stuff. I mean, Tai Zu Chuan is probably the most popularly known style during the time of Yu Yo and Qi Ji Guan.
Hmm.
And in fact, it was a northern Shaolin style that came south, and
Right.
through the training of Qi Ji Guan and over the time, it became a short strike style for close quarters. So you don't see any of the long fist movements within Go Chokun of the thing. So now we have what they call this South Shaolin or Southern Fist Tai Tzu Chuan.
Right.
And the Lohan is the Arhat fist or the monk fist, right? Also called incense shop boxing,
Hmm.
and so forth. It was pretty interesting.
Yep.
And then we have the Calcoon. We call it Calcoon or monkey fist, right?
Yep.
And it's not just the palms of the monkey, but it's the grabs and the holds and the locks and the throws and the trickery and the dodging,
Yeah.
the low stances and the tripping. But also some of that tripping is in the Lohan,
Yeah.
the leg scissors, and also in Taizu.
Yeah.
And then the white crane fingers is not, it's because we do a lot of, I don't know, do cranes have fingers? But anyway, you know what we mean. Our fingers are
Yes.
white crane. So it's
That's
a
right.
lot of thrusting techniques and curved hand techniques.
Yeah.
But it's also the balance of softness and
Mm.
hardness. And in fact, in the book, we translate a lot of pages from Chogyuk Bang's essays and writings, but he has a whole section on hardness and softness
Right.
and yin and yang. So those are translated from with his Chinese there, and
Yeah.
then the English, and then our commentary on how that applies to us. So those are the five main styles. And what's not known as usually or talked about much is that within the first one is the Tachun body, because that is the most fundamental thing that we have to develop for Gocho. Wrestlers got to get that wrestler's body, and when you wrestle and grapple a lot, you get it. And
Right.
boxers have these big shoulders here and tight abs, and their hamstrings and quadriceps are tight from the way they stand and
Hmm.
rotate to punch. Ballerinas are very slim and lean, sinewy, they say. You see
Hmm.
the ligaments and tendons, less muscle bulk. So Gotro has a body too. And part of developing that body is through the Damo methods, right, or the
Hmm.
Tachan methods. And one of those methods, which is believed to be, at least within our line, the precursor to the Samchen, is called the Dajin Fa, or the Damo's 12 methods, strengthening methods, and they are stationary like a Janzhuang, and you're moving and flexing in pulses different parts of the wrist, elbows, shoulders to develop strength in micro movement. So it's isometric, and then which is holding in place, and then isotonic, but in a micro isotonic movement,
Hmm.
like an inch or something. It's not a big like in Samchen.
Right.
So he's like, we go from the small with the Dodge and Fa to Sam Chen, which comes from Damo respecting boxing, or
Hmm.
Datsun Chuan,
Yeah.
right? Tragok Ben learned it from them,
Yeah.
from that group. Although these days the style seems to be very very rare to find. But there is a new book on the style that came out a few years ago that I have, and it's referenced in the bibliography in Chinese, published by Shaman University. So
Cool.
anyway, the Damo stuff is very important, because without the correct body, without the correct breathing, without the correct strength, the art really kind of, and without the calm mind, the art can't really be effective, and you can't really use it effective. But it's not enough on its own. You can't just do these elements of Damo that was brought into Gocho and have an art,
Right.
which is
Right.
why we have the postures of the other different arts, and the
Yeah.
movements and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
in the Soft Art Complete book that we did the translation
Mm-hmm.
for,
The
he
Gocho
said
Bible.
there was a line in there that said something like, the posture is important because if not, you can be moved like a puppet by the bad guy, something of that nature.
Yeah, puppet, held by this, controlled by strings. There's
Yeah,
no actual substance to it. Yeah.
right, right.
And yeah, it's important because you see a lot of martial artists generally do their martial art. They're doing forms or katas, or their taolu, and they're just moving in postures and posing, and there's nothing really there, right? You
Mm,
can see they're not grounded.
mm,
You can see when they strike, there's no jing. You can see
yeah,
that there's no root. And other people, you can see it clearly,
mhm,
you know. And within our style, it's the same way. There's some people who really have it and some who don't. And it's just a difference of what was the emphasis when their line was being handed down. Maybe not originally, but as we work down 5, 6, 7 generations of students
right.
over the last 115 years, or whatever it's been, 120 years, each individual teacher who ends up with a student emphasizes different things,
Right.
and how much time did they have with that student, and then that student decides. I mean, it's
Yeah,
the old story of where did the art go,
yeah,
and
exactly.
everybody keeps trying to reinvent it, right?
Yeah. Did you come back
uh,
and you get corrections or no? Did you,
right.
what did you do?
And did
Yeah,
your teacher even know what he was doing? Just because you're in class doesn't mean you
yeah.
really know. we
Did
we
they,
have that
did
problem
they
within our
really
group.
decide to teach you because maybe you were in the outside, you didn't get brought in the
Yeah,
inner gate, right?
you got to be in the inner gate. It's all in this book, all the inner gate, and it's all the translations are in here too. But you're not going to really know how to do it, without a teacher who knows it.
Yeah,
And if you don't practice what's in here, I mean, you could read this thing 10 times, the book, and it's fascinating. I mean, I
yeah,
get fascinated reading it
yeah.
because a lot of it's not
Same.
my words, it's translations, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And they're old translations, and it's exciting
yeah.
that it's
Very.
all laid out in there, but there's a lot to wrap your body around, your mind around, and your body around,
Yeah, it's a good point. You
Yeah.
can't start from You can't start from a place of knowledge. Need to start from a place of practice and then fill in the knowledge as you go.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And keep referring back. Like,
Hmm.
when we move on to this section on chapter or framework on posture or framework,
Yeah.
you know, you have to follow the posture rules,
Hmm.
you know. And in this one, it's very clear how the feet are positioned. And if your feet are positioned a different way, you're not following the posture rule. And that posture rules are important because all the definition of the root from the ground up the legs into the groinal area, the lower abs, up
Hmm.
the spine through the torso, crossing to the shoulders, shaking down, and out the arms is all a very important part of the power
Yeah.
dynamic,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
not just using external body strength of leaning and pushing and
Hmm.
swinging.
Yeah.
It's about generating. And if you don't, even if you do all those pieces correctly, but your posture is wrong, the force flow, or what we call the kinetic chain nowadays,
Hmm.
is not in a correct alignment to give you the effect that you want. So
Right.
there was something interesting here. I wanted to in the section on Grand Ancestor Fist, in chapter 4, still on the 5 styles, because we say, what's the saying for Grand Ancestor Fist?
The feet.
Taicho feet,
Yeah.
right? You say, well, but it's Lohan legs. What's the difference? Is one stances and one kicks? Is one takedowns and one sweep? Like, it's feet and legs. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't have one
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
the other.
But you can have
But
stability versus mobility.
right, but what does that mean with feet when it says feet? Right, it
Hmm.
just says feet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we have a deeper dive into what that means in the book, because there's layers to what it means. There's the quick and
Right.
dirty, which is above me, and then
Yeah.
there's the deep flow. But one
Right.
of the lines I did translate in here, it says power starts from the root,
Hmm.
and the rooting is related to the feet.
Hmm.
So if the power of Grand Ancestor Fist starts from your root, that's the feet, because the
Hmm.
kidney one, the Young Chuan point, and the under the sole, under
Right.
the indent in the middle of the
Hmm.
top middle of the foot, if you're not rooted properly, right, you're not going to be stable in step and stance, which it
Right.
says throughout the book to be
Right.
stable in step and
Right.
stance, right?
Right.
So the feet on a fundamental level goes back to the body of Ta Chun,
Yeah.
which is, the body's fine, but without that root.
Yeah.
So even the feet are so important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, and what direction are the feet pointing in each
Yeah.
stance,
Yeah.
right? It's super important. Yeah.
And Taizu brings in some of those other methods for training the stance
Right.
related to how you use the
Yeah,
toes and
the
some
feet,
some
the
training methods that
10
are
toe,
really,
10. Yeah. And it's unique to our style.
I think so.
It's mentioned in this chapter 4 under the Taicho section about 10 toes lifted, 10 toes pointing to
Facing
the
heaven.
sky.
Yeah.
But they also have, 4 down, 1 up. There's all these
Yeah.
different methods,
Yeah.
and they're training methods. So in the
Yeah.
chapter on training, which is 100 pages later in the book, it gives a deep dive into what all that means. But
Yeah.
very interesting that even doing something like that for training
Right.
to help the root and help the musculature around
Yeah.
the shins is very important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. Very cool. That was fascinating.
Yeah. And then of course the Lohan stuff, is really cool. And the Lohan, even though the Samchen for us comes from the Damos, Tachun. One of the sayings, I'm just looking down and reading it so I can give you the
Hmm.
actual thing. One of the Chinese sayings, and all of the sayings that are, well, not all, but the most important ones, and there's a lot. They're in a red frame, right?
Hmm.
In
Yeah.
Chinese and then English under
I
it,
really
the
appreciate
really
that.
ones to pull out. And it says, start with the 3 straights.
Hmm.
And 3 straights is another name for Samchen, right? Or
Yes.
three
Yes.
battles. It says, start with the 3 straights, striving to achieve a correct head, correct body, and correct steps. The saying is Lohan steps, but they're saying, hey, if you don't have 3 battles right,
Right.
and you can't have that right without the Tachun being correct,
Right.
achieve a correct head, which is your mind state and where your head is placed
Hmm.
above your spine and how it's
Hmm.
raised, and the bike weight point, which we talk about in posture, or a correct body, again, and correct steps. It's like
Yeah.
all these things are
Yeah.
goes back again to the previous arts.
Yeah.
The sayings are pulling forward. And
Yeah.
then we also list the forms that are most related to these each of the five arts within Gocho in their section here. But none, really we can't say aside from Samchen that a form in its entirety was like taken from Crane. Here's seven Crane forms and here
Right, right,
six
right,
Lohan forms. It's each form has a combination of all the styles because all the primary characteristics are met. There's stances, there's root, there's body, there's footwork, there's breathing, there's the mental, there's
right,
strength, there's fajin, there's root, right?
right,
Then you have low stances and high stances and hand techniques from all of the
right.
five styles. So, it's not really like this is a crane form and this is a Lohan form, which is why in the Gocho Bible, the Chinese gentle art complete, the way that Yuchuk attributed those, and then there were notes under for how Ben Kiam attributes those, and those are a little different than how Ben Hung attributes those, because I don't know how Ben Kiam, our Mogun, came up with their list, but we attribute them based on how many like techniques, movements, or principles from a specific of the five arts
Yeah,
is most
yeah,
characteristic
yeah,
of these specific
yeah.
techniques in this form,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think that makes sense. If even if uh, some amount of the other forms were brought in from other styles that rather than being created by the founder, he unified them with the theory and the posture and the power of his teachings, right?
Right. So it looks like his Gocho.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good
Because,
stuff.
and it's interesting that we see a lot of forms in Southern Fist with all the same names
Hmm.
that have different choreography.
Right, right.
Same with
Yeah,
the weapons forms, which is funny. You'll
yeah,
have,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Green Dragon coiling and a
Yeah.
pole form in four styles, and they're
And
all
not a,
different.
yeah, exactly.
It's like we all want to have the great
Yeah.
heavenly staff or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Well, like
Uh,
Samchen, it's an idea, it's a concept, it's a very important
right,
form in our style, and it the idea of forms with the same name spread to many styles, and
right,
even in the Gojuru that I started with in Okinawa, uh, three battles Sanchin is the same as Samchen. The
right,
idea transferred into many places. The form is not
right.
nearly the same, but the
The
concept is.
concept, yeah, the concept of what is the form, the purpose, and what is it supposed to
Right.
accomplish,
Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
then, when you look at the Dazun twins Samchen, you can see it on YouTube.
Yeah.
The choreography of the sequence of movements is the same as ours,
Hmm.
but the body,
Hmm.
the Tachun part, is
Hmm.
different, right? I mean, their stances, their steps, the width, the height, the
Hmm.
way they express it, how the power and movement comes, the
Yeah.
length of the movements versus short, and et
Yeah.
cetera. But it's so interesting to see the very same
Yeah.
choreography done a whole
Yeah.
nother way. And
With a
then there's
different
the
engine.
wushu way, which is
Yeah.
even different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Uh,
cool that you can see that he just didn't collect stuff,
right.
and you've got one long fist form and one northern monkey form, and
Right. Right. Right.
that he actually everything he's got in there, Chogyok Bang has in the system is unified to
Yeah.
fit the principles
Yeah.
of the art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very so. Very much so.
yeah. So the next chapter is the characteristics.
Yeah. 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 So there's a
If you
lot of
guys want to know
characteristics.
about the monkey and the crane and everything, you can buy the book.
I'll add one thing though.
Yeah.
Just to give people a sense of a reference point, one of the other Fujanese styles that people are seeing sometimes is dog boxing.
Oh yeah.
In our art, the monkey has a lot of the same techniques as you'll
A
see in
lot.
dog boxing.
A
So the
lot.
low-lying scissors, the slice kicks on the ground from the prone position, kneeling techniques, various kinds of takedowns, as you mentioned earlier,
Right.
the chin na techniques, arm drags, arm locks, lots of the cool like grappling stuff is all attributed to the monkey, which is fascinating.
I didn't research uh, Fujo Monkey enough, just as a side art. Like we have tons of information on Southern
Crane,
Cranes
yeah,
and Taizu
Taizu,
and
yeah,
other. The Fujo Monkey is hard to find.
hmm,
It's hard. I have one video of a guy doing a form,
yeah.
and it doesn't look like the Northern
It's
Monkey at
not
all.
nearly as imitative, right? Yeah, it
Right.
doesn't. Yeah,
but you can see the arm locks and the movements
Hmm.
of our locks. But I always wonder, I've got eight or nine dog boxing books, and half
Hmm.
the techniques or more look like our monkey techniques, and
Totally.
I'm wondering if Fujo Monkey somehow is like morphed into dog boxing or got overplayed by dog boxing
Yeah,
and or in the two became one or something
sure.
because or the name changed or something. I don't
Yeah,
know, but leave a comment in the description if you do know, please.
cool. Yeah, good call.
Your friend just came out with a dog boxing book.
Neil
And
Johnson out
maybe,
of the UK. He's a really
yeah,
well-established
looks
guy.
like a really great book. I have to get a copy, but
Same,
maybe we
same.
can ask him that
Yeah,
because you don't see a lot of monkey in the South.
it's true. Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
I
see
know.
the dog.
Yeah,
But maybe, 110 years, 115 years ago,
yeah,
it was more popular,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
But it doesn't look like the Erme monkey. So,
No, no.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
there's tons and tons of stuff out on Crane of various kinds.
yeah.
So lots of other material on Crane. Our Crane is kind of unique to our approach, but there's some similarities and overlaps with other things
Hmm.
that you'll see out there. So
Yeah,
cool. So other characteristics. I know we talk, there's a ton of things in this section. I don't know which ones you might want to touch on in any detail, but there are things like center line theory, why that matters, how we define gates and quadrants may not be something we want to dive in, but like the four movement concepts are so critical to the
yeah,
art. Shaking body, trembling shoulders, it's something kind of unique to the system. What would you like to touch on?
yeah. You know what? I'm just going to flip through the pages and there's a
Cool.
couple of things because on the first two-page spread here, we've got three pull-out quotes that I'd like to read on the centerline principle. It's called Zeno,
Yep.
T-Z-I-N-G-O, Zeno. It's like a meridian
Yep.
line right down the center. And Wing Chun's not the only one who's got it. They're very much known for their center line. But Go Cho, the whole art is based,
Hmm.
the application is based around the center line,
Yeah.
right? And three sayings that are framed as pull-out quotes on the first pages here of this section. One says the hands are always forward and techniques follow the center line, right? But if we skip forward to applications later real quick, we have two ways of dealing with the center line. Tongkyung Wat, Tiongkwan Wat, which is controlling the center. The triangle is pointing forward,
Hmm.
and Guanquan Wat, controlling the flank, still pointed toward the center line, but controlling the outside flank section.
Hmm.
Either I'm moving over your arms or I'm moving your arms so I can go
Right.
straight.
Right.
But either way is controlling the center, even if I'm not physically parallel center line to center line.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I could be diagonal to your center line and still going towards your center line, which is taking your route either
Right.
way.
Right. But
Right.
what you normally don't see in our art is the arms spread out to the sides.
No, 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 no.
Very, very
Because that's the
rarely.
long fist, right?
Yeah.
That comes from the long fist, and we have the short strike.
Yeah.
There are, well, here, because I read this earlier, and then it says here techniques don't leave the center gate, hands extend toward the center line. Right. So you're centered, right. But there are exceptions, right? Because
Hmm.
we have Sangsao
Hmm.
Kun, right? And
Hmm.
the double banner strikes, right? And different things like that. So, and we also have side chops, which go away from, like parallel to,
Hmm. Hmm.
perpendicular to a center line.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
are exceptions, but our body is still moving toward that to take control of the opponent's center,
Right.
the
Right.
center of gravity, their center of balance. You're punching toward their face or their chest or their sternum, the xiphoid process.
Yeah.
Um, and then this is an interesting quote here, taken from the Chinese, and it says central control, center line control, forces closeness. Okay. Inches compete for dominance. Inches compete for dominance. You move forward, I move forward, you move me here, I move you there, and it's all this little short space stuff. Strategy favors, that's our strategies, favor close range strikes. So we're not doing those long extended arms or ones that take,
Right.
7 seconds to travel. Firm stances and hard interception. That's the saying. So central control forces closeness. Colon. Inches compete for dominance. Strategy favors close range strikes, firm stances, and hard interception. Hard interception is Damo body breaking the bridge,
Right.
right? That's
Yep.
hard interception
Yep.
or pounding forward. Short range burst, that's your Fajin, right?
Hmm.
That's your Jing or your Jing lot, we call it.
Right.
And firm stances is back to the root from from
Taizu.
Taizu, the
Yeah.
stances of Lohan, and the
Yeah.
body of Ta Chun. So even
Right.
our Kao Kut or Kyu Kit in Cantonese, our fist sayings or oral keys, as we say,
Yeah.
all come in line with the principles of the style. It's like you don't need to reinvent anything at
Right.
all if only you have the information. And now we have it all together in the Intergate book in one place.
Right.
I didn't have it for 30 years. You know, it wasn't until I started working on this book and putting it all together that
Yeah.
it all came to one place, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
80 or 90% was all in Chinese and in disparate sources and not available.
Right.
But luckily we have it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it all
Ancient,
fell in line with the oral teachings you received directly with your teacher. So it's
oh,
like what
100%.
we know that it's orthodox, at
100%.
least according to our lineage. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, part of what helped in Intergate is that before he passed away, he aired me his
Hmm.
collection of 833 books, his uniforms, his sai, his tepi, they were all sent to me.
Hmm.
So in there were a lot of Chinese books on Gocho, a
Yeah.
lot, six or
Yeah.
seven. I mean, there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot. Plus magazines, plus we recorded our conversations for years. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
decades. Especially in the last two to 3 years of his life, we recorded a lot of interviews and
Hmm.
conversations,
Yeah.
to get more detail. He says, if I don't live, you need to carry this forward. Let me tell you more. Let me tell you
Hmm.
more. He
Yeah.
was always very open and free with sharing information, giving
Yeah.
me VHS tapes back in the day. I filmed
Yeah.
a lot of my lessons,
Yeah.
writing down breakdown of forms, having his daughter type it into the email, send me my America Online email back in the day, um, and so forth, and never held back. And he did that with all his students, but most of them didn't catch the lessons. It's always like, Sifu's always here. He's easy to visit. He's always talking. We'll always get it. And then he's not here, and you realize 20, 30 years passed or 10 years passed, and you don't have it. I see
Or
it
you
in a
don't know
lot
how
of
much you forgot or just weren't ready to
like
understand at that time.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
because you're trying to get the posture,
Yeah.
and he always went through the pointers of the posture.
Yeah.
We did those tapes for Unique Publications in
Yeah.
the late 90s, and in there he's giving all the pointers, the fingers like this, the elbow here, the wrist turned here, all in line with the chest here. And then you still, even with that, people are like holding their hands out here,
Yeah.
because they're just like remembering the choreography.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing was always the rock spreads its wings. The top of the hands are level with the eyebrows
Right.
for our template, and there's a lot of guys throwing it down here.
Yeah.
And you see it on the video, it drives me bonkers. I'm like, how
Yeah.
many times does Sifu tell you? When you look at his pictures in his book and in the
Yeah.
Bible, it's up here.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it down here?
Yeah.
Because all they do is remember, like, hey, there was a form and we did this.
Right.
They weren't really studying the art, and I think that's why the idea of a indoor disciple, we call it the inner gate, um, was created in kung fu, and maybe other disciplines as well, probably Chinese medicine and others, Taoist black magic, because not everybody's remembering everything, and
Hmm.
not everybody treasures the information.
Right.
So why give of your heart like that? I mean, it breaks your heart when the students leave,
Oh,
or when you
100%.
tell them the same thing 8 times and then they still. I have the trouble now. I tell the student, for today, your hands are uneven. Make sure you even up so the bottom of your hands are even. And the whole day, their hands are still like that. I correct them again. Okay, I got it. Next time the hands go out, they're like this again because they're not thinking. Just focus on this one thing. When you sink, make sure your hands are even. Just focus on that. And they forget. They're just doing the form again. And I'm just like, okay, good. Sifu would say, oh, good enough. And I'm like, what do you mean good enough? Like, is it good? Is it okay? Good
Yeah.
enough. Oh, that
Yeah.
means I didn't get something. And he's tired of telling.
You know what I've started doing because of this problem, Sifu, is I teach in a lot of detail. I really, really try to make sure I give everything I can as a teacher to my students to give them the best opportunity to learn. But at some point, I have the students who don't pick up on the corrections, and I'm starting to get frustrated. And so I've started saying, hey, look, guys, like, I'm not the old school guy. I give you more than one correction, but there's going to come a point soon soon where I stop correcting you on these things and I'm
Right,
gonna let you live with your error forever.
right.
And that's on you because I've given you that correction 20 times and it's on video.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's on.
so yeah, it's just one of those things we all have to do our part, the teachers and the students, right?
I say that on my online class too. I say, guys, listen, here's your correction. This is for you, XY person. When
Yeah.
you watch the video back, you're going to hear me saying this to you and pay attention for next class. And the
Yeah.
same exact problem
Yeah.
next class. So then it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay. Someone was telling me, I forget who it was. I just did a podcast with somebody, or maybe it was a conversation, and they said their Sifu would only make one correction per class because any more than that was insulting to the was insulting would insult the student because the student couldn't remember more than one anyway. So why insult them by pushing their intelligence by saying you have to remember six corrections, that it wasn't actually fair to them.
There's a truth there. I don't like the word insult, but there's a
Right,
real
right.
truth in what you just said. I mean,
Yeah.
as a teacher, one of my learning epiphanies was like there's just a point. I had this with a student. I was teaching class. I gave him one more correction, and I watched him mentally crumble.
Crumble.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, so a big part of teaching is like not teaching too much, too fast, too many
Yeah.
corrections, that kind of thing. So yeah,
Yeah. I think that's it. There's another grandmaster that I'm very close with who doesn't live far from here. He's 85 now, but he always would only make one correction per class. But some of his students would drive 4 hours each way to see him once every 3 months.
yeah,
So how long are
yeah,
you going to be on
yeah,
that training? Say it's a form or something.
yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
whatever it is, and then you like, okay, turn your knee. Oh,
Right.
what?
Is that
I got
it?
next time you come back, you have exhale on this move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's a
Yeah.
non-winner,
It's
you know?
not. And this is why I think about like one of my Okinawan teachers, right? He had more students outside of Okinawan than in, but I would never ask him if I could really record things, although I should have because it would have helped me retain the things when it's going to
Right.
be a couple years before I can come back. So, yeah, we should take advantage of technology and books and videos and class
Yeah.
recordings so that we can accelerate people's learning and retention so that we can give 20 corrections in a class. They've got the video, they should be able to
They
retain
have the
that.
video, right? Like
Yeah.
when I was flying to the Philippines to train with Sifu Alex, it's like 21 hours door to door. I leave my house to when I arrive, sometimes 24 hours,
Mhm.
depending on the stopovers in
Yeah.
Japan and wherever
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
Korea. And if we there had to stop at the hub in Chicago or wherever for the swapping of the plane and et cetera.
Yeah.
And like it costs thousands of dollars,
Mhm.
right? I don't want to repeat the same corrections again each time I go and
Right.
have them think I'm slacking,
Right.
right?
Right.
I want to go him look at all the stuff and then be like, okay, this and this. Now here's
Yeah.
three new things, or here's
Yeah.
five new things, and
Yeah.
let's do this. And I'm excited to teach you more because you're
Yeah.
remembering and doing it and embodying the information,
Yes.
and then have good questions to ask that are really good questions.
Right.
I'm lucky I have some students who ask good questions, but some
Yeah.
aren't making the corrections.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so it's like,
Yeah.
not everybody's kung fu is the same, but
And not everybody gets the gift or has the gift, right? So,
yeah, that's true.
so
Um,
Sifu, can you
but
tell us about the four movement concepts? They're so
sure.
critical. Unless you
Yeah.
wanted to cover something else first. Sorry if I preempted you
No,
there.
it's okay. Well, they can buy the book to get that. So the four movement concepts, if you turn to page 107 and show the picture,
Sure thing.
yeah, that would be great. Um, actually, yeah. So
The chart at the bottom.
the chart and the image, yeah. There we go. Lower it, lower it, lower it. I want to see the image
Or
also.
oh,
Yeah, there
okay.
we go. Okay, cool. Just that's good. Thank you.
Yeah,
So that's cool. So some of the Calcut for the four movements is swallow like a flood, spit like an arrow from the bowstring, float like feathers in the wind, and sink like a stone thrown into a river. I mean, that's cool because you get a
yeah,
visual with the idea. You're not
right.
just sinking. That's like a float sink, like you're sinking, like you're dropping that stone is. And when you float, it's like it's going, it can go in all directions. You're pulling and pushing and lifting and rising in your technique because it's like the wind blowing a feather or a piece of paper. It's never just a rise like water lifting a boat, right? Which it could be, right? But it's twirling and moving. So like when
Wow.
he's fighting you and you're switching and you're floating again, it's like the float keeps moving.
Nice.
Um, and then swallow like a hungry tiger, devouring its prey. So swallowing is the movements that come towards you, but it's also the left and right movements because the opponent is coming forward. If I go right, they're being pulled forward to my right or forward to.
Hmm.
So swallowing is pulling back and also turning and turning, pulling back, right? So like a hungry tiger devouring its prey. It means don't just like, oh, I'm gonna pull you back, but like, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you, man, with some barbecue sauce. Neutralize the opponent's technique invisibly.
Nice.
You use your swallow to neutralize invisibly.
Right.
And one of the first moves, White Crate spreads its wing from Sam Chen, is this separation and pull back.
Yeah.
And it's pulled back from here is the
Right.
connecting point. And a lot of people pull back with their hands flat and they pull it back flat. What's that going to do? There's no connection with the opponent. The opponent is here. You've got them here and you're pulling them. So
Yeah.
it's just like Tai Chi. You could just do this and rotate and they're pulling
Right.
even without me going pulling backwards, just rotating is pulling them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like an invisible swallow.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
cool.
for spitting is the outward movements, right? Spitting out. It's like spit like a swift arrow leaving a bowstring, attack with speed.
Hmm.
So we always think about you're holding a bow and you have the arrow on it, and here's the string, and you
Hmm.
pull,
Hmm.
right? That's our chamber position.
Right.
Two hands
Yes.
or one hand, right?
Yeah.
And then when you let go of the arrow, boom, it shoots.
Yeah.
And you need to be swift like that arrow. And the movement needs to be straight and not wobbling on the way in.
Hmm.
It's like wing, wing, wing,
Yeah.
wing. It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
You
An
need it to
instant
be
acceleration.
instant.
Yeah.
It has to be unseeable and just boom, and you're in, you know?
Yeah.
And there's so many things related to the jin there and the body mechanics that are in later chapters we'll talk about. Um, it's crazy. And sinking is the lowering, right? Like you threw that rock into the river and it sank. The rock becomes the opponent, right? And the river is you are the river water swallowing that rock down. We are not the rock falling. We're not just going to sink our arms down fast and hard. Your technique is falling down fast and
Right.
hard. We
Yeah.
are the water, right?
Yeah.
Sink like a stubborn stone cast into the river. Resist the opponent before the body. Resist the opponent before the body. So it's like I'm resisting you, you're putting in force, great, boom, change the direction of the force, like
Nice.
I'm throwing the rock in the water,
Right. Right. Right.
and
Yeah.
just pulling you down. So the picture that you showed a moment ago, it's actually a line drawing of Ang Wakun, one of
Hmm.
our seniors who had passed,
Yeah.
but he's just holding this position, and this position shows all of the sink, float, swallow, spit, because it's not just the gross movement, it's also the micro movements, right? So here the shoulder and the elbow and the wrist are all sinking. They're all sinking down, right, for this a press movement. So you think of weights hanging down of different heavinesses, right? The shoulder sinking down goes to the flank and into the leg and into the floor, right? And then these have weights like off of a fishing rod, right?
Sure.
Sinking. But then the forearm, the inner forearm, is swallowing inward. The forearm has to swallow inward. If it doesn't, then your shoulder, elbow, and wrist are broken. It's a broken line. You no longer have your structure, right? Swallowing forward. Your fingers are floating, and your palm is spitting. So
Hmm.
the palm is spitting, the fingers are floating, this is sinking, these are swallowing, and to get the posture. Every position within Gocho that we do, every movement has those four qualities within it. But then we need to go down to the body. What part is the chest swallowing or sinking or spitting? I mean, right? So we swallow and we spit, swallow and spit with techniques.
Hmm.
This helps lead this in and out,
Hmm.
helps concave, convex, which we start learning in Sam Chen with our
Right.
Sang Cha double
Yeah.
thrusting.
Yeah.
Helps to teach that. Yeah, those four concepts are so important. And later we talk about bridging techniques, and those four concepts are related to the methods of bridging, and applications of all techniques are the most important. They're all taught in the Kikun, which is the opening set, the commencement fist, little micro set that opens every form. That is actually the bridge between Dajin Fa and Samchen. The three forward and back of Samchen is the Kikun. And all those float, sink, swallow, spit are inside the Kikun. Yeah,
It's amazing.
it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Everything is built inside that's something that's built inside something that's built inside
Yeah.
that's built inside,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's deep in that kind of peeling the layers of the onion way, but it's also incredibly self-referencing. We do
Right.
this. Why do we do this? Well, you already know it because you learned this and it's supported by this and it supports this other element of the style, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
Fascinating.
what do they call it? Like an engram where all the
Yeah.
pieces are connected by
Exactly.
the lines, like the
Yes.
murder board and the detective
There you
office with
go.
all the lines and images.
There you go.
Yeah.
Post-it notes and string and thumbtacks.
Post-it notes. Yeah, that's all you need. And
That's right.
something to eat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's all there. Yeah, foot and leg techniques are the next section in the characteristics chapter. And I just want to read some of these pull-out quotes,
Cool.
the Calcut, right? Or the Q
Awesome.
kit,
Yeah.
right? Um, Leg techniques emphasize being low and calm, using the foot to control the opponent's foot or leg. And low and calm means, you know,
Yeah, yeah, the kicks aren't higher than the belly button typically, and then
right?
also you don't want to be able to see them. You need to do them without expressing, without exaggerating, without them being able to tell.
Without
Yeah,
telegraphing. Yeah, yeah,
telegraphing. Thank you. That's the word I
yeah.
was struggling with.
And so low and calm means don't like lift your leg, lift your leg, lift your leg. Here it comes,
Right, right.
and don't be
Just
like
pop.
nervous before you kick. Like, should I kick? Should I kick?
Right,
Right? Because you need
right.
to be rooted
Yeah,
until
yeah,
the kick comes.
yeah,
And
yeah,
every
yeah.
time there's a stance step, we have what we call um, a lifting foot. And each one of those is it's a trip, it's a kick, it's
Mm,
a sweep, or it's an evasion. So we know that every time we take that step or scoop the foot, we call it
hmm
scooping leg,
hmm
it's one of those things, and it's used for control of the
hmm
opponent. It's not just hands coming in,
Yeah,
same time it's the feet.
yeah.
You know, here's another one. Again, this is Chinese. These are from the old sayings within Gocho. We're not taking these from Choi Li Fut or Wing Chun or White Crane.
Right,
These are all from Gocho. Well, there might be some from White Crane and Taizu, and those are because they were brought in. But these are ones that are some that are in the Gocho Bible and Chua Gyok Beng's writing and some of the
mm,
first 10 Tigers writings, right?
right, right.
In the absence of any fixed movement, a kick can complement the hand techniques. So when you don't have something to do, you can always kick. Again, front kick, side kick, sweep, low kick, they're all belly button down. But one thing Sifu always said was, don't kick unless the hands are touching because you need that other there. So when you're touching the opponent, their body is your second leg that you're missing, right? It's your balance point,
Yeah,
and you're in range to kick
yeah,
because we are not doing Savate or Taekwondo or
right.
long kicks of any
Right.
Northern Shaolin kicks.
Another way of saying, or let me to yes and that, we don't compromise our posture to kick.
Totally,
All right.
totally. Right, right. Don't break the posture. Right, right. Um, oh yeah, here it is. In Chinese first, and then no kick should be initiated without first establishing a bridge. That's a nice way of saying,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
kick unless the hands are touching.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean it's crazy.
It's fantastic.
Um, you know, But again, before learning martial techniques, one must first learn Chanbei. Chanbei is the battle stance of Samchen, which is this way. So before you can even kick, it's get your stance right for your posture, right?
Right.
Before you can even step, get the stance right. Get the
Right.
stance right means the foot has to be right. So there's your root, and the
Right.
leg has to be right, and there's the lohan.
Yeah.
But then the tightness of pulling in and it
Yeah.
goes on and on and on. There's all the rules are there, and the mechanics. And then we have something called the five arrivals and the six harmonies, which is not discussed a lot.
Right.
You don't find it a lot. One of the grandmasters of Gocho, Zhou Mengwan, who wrote a lot of books on the style, and his father wrote several books on the style. And our teachers met them and knew them. He wrote about the five arrivals and the six harmonies, and we have a nice image here of Christopher Ricketts and Alex Coe, and I put numbers on each of the points of the body with arrows. And so when the hands arrive, the feet also arrive, and the opponent always falls. Such a cool saying
Yeah.
because it's like if your hands are going to hit or make a bridge, you better have your stance and posture correct.
Mm.
And when those two are correct, the opponent's going to fall no matter what,
Right.
like
Right. Yeah.
however you're doing it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to have five things arriving. The hands arrive and the feet arrive, okay, but there's actually five arrival. The arrival of intent, you know, the mental focus and the will directed toward the target. Is your intention to hurt, to fight, to maim, to stop the attacker? If not, your techniques aren't going to, you're
Right.
just not going to have the fortitude and solidness behind you
Right.
to carry that out. The arrival of sight, are your eyes fixed on what you're going for, you know, with some broad vision on there as well? And have you looked around you, right?
Yeah.
You have to, your steps have to arrive, right? Your body has to arrive, meaning your Gocho body,
Hmm.
not just your torso is here and your feet
Right.
are there, but what's your stance, what's your posture,
Nice.
right? And then the fists arrive, the number five.
Yeah.
But so as soon as the body and the fists arrive, the guy falls because the steps, the sight, and the intent are all there. You know, it's like you're not like, I think I'm gonna block, maybe I'll
Right.
hit him. I'm
Right.
not sure. Um, you know, and then another saying here is when the intent arrives, the fingers arrive, right? When the fingers arrive, force arrives. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So then we have a section here of applying the five arrivals, and I'll just read the main points without the descriptions. Heart and intention, intention and chi, chi and strength, hand and fit, elbows and knees, shoulders and hips.
Mm.
Right.
Mm, mm, mm. These
So
are,
those
you
are the
know,
six harmonies.
right.
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 Right. You have to harmonize your heart and intention. And in Chinese, it's called the heart mind, or you know, the heart mind. So the heart and your mind are together. So your intention is, I want to hurt you, and my heart is in it to
Yeah.
do that. Rather than I know I need to hurt you, but my heart's just not in
Right.
it. You know,
Right.
a lot of people don't have the fighting spirit.
True.
And you never know. It has nothing to do with tournaments and competitions or anything. You never know until you're standing in front of that person with their aggression,
Yeah.
and that aggression coming at you, fight,
Yeah.
freeze, or
Yeah.
flee, right? Like,
Right.
but trying to get that heart and intention comes in training. And then you have to harmonize the intention and the energy, right? Because the yi intention leads to chi or energy. So my intention is to hit this way, and my energy is going in that direction. Chi and strength, you know, or energy and strength. Hands and feet have to be coordinated or harmonized. Elbows and knees, because they're the
Hmm.
second joints,
Hmm.
and shoulders and hips, the third
Right.
joint. All
Yeah.
that has to do with the force flow, or again, or the kinetic chain, which
Yes.
we talk about later in body mechanics for five parts power, Gokula.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fascinating. Awesome.
yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot, Sifu. Is there anything else in part two that you think makes sense to highlight before we close out?
Well, let me see. I mean, aside from everything that's cool in here,
There's such depth, right? The hard part
well,
is like
I'll just
like
mention a
not
few
teaching too
things.
much. The hard part is
Right.
figuring out how to skinny it down.
I'll just say that one of the things here we have is called shaking body, trembling scapula, or trembling shoulders. And that's something that's kind of unique. We've got graphics in here and a breakdown of it. I did a little video short of it showing how
Mm,
vibrate the shoulders and get the scapulas to move. You basically, the scapula on each side under they're called the shoulder blades in the
mm,
back, you know, they look like a couple of steaks. And what you want to do is those need to drop, but they also flex, right? They also separate when you're extending,
mm,
um, like that. So they have to stop and do this, and it causes the vibration of the shoulder like this. But that happens when you first get the shaking of the body or the rib cage, when the torso twists, right? And that happens when the waist pivots, and that happens when the knees and the foot move. So you get this spiral of energy up and then out and down the arm.
mm,
But the thing that's characteristic of the style is if somebody's punching or doing Gocho techniques and they don't have that shaking body and trembling shoulders, they're not either A, they're not really Gocho, or B, they're not well trained or highly advanced. So that's something just to look out for
So
in watching the
and
videos.
ultimately the point is they can't deliver as much power as they could if
It's all about power
they
delivery.
refine
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
it's all about the power engine, right?
Yeah.
And then we have an essay on from Chok Bang on basic principles of the style, formula for posture, um, just a ton of stuff on here on the posture. Everything from the scapula to the head to the dajue point on the back, to the elbows, to the fingers, to the abdomen, to the thighs pulling in instead of the knees, how the tailbone has to tuck and not tuck. Um, the golden points of the foot landing, the feet
Hmm.
toes coming up, and how to and about the intra-abdominal pressure and lower abs breathing, or Sing Chita Dantian if you use
Yeah.
the old words, is all in there. And then there's an ancient formula written out from our Dai Sihing on from Hong Kong, who wrote a book, the formula for the head and the body, and these are
Yeah.
like training songs or training formulas
Yeah.
for the head and the body, head, the waist, the body, or the arms, the sections of the arms, and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so forth.
I
Uh,
I really like I remember it really sticks out to me the poem of the arms. He says the shoulders are responsible for sinking, the elbows play swallow and spit, and the hands are like dragons playing in the water. And I was like,
awesome.
dude, this is such
That's
beautiful poetry.
everything
It locks it in, right? Because it's just
because you get a visual with it,
so great.
and you're
Yeah.
like, I got to move like that,
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
But don't mimic Southern Mantis when you do it,
Right.
even though that sounds like it could be a description
Sure,
for
sure, sure.
Juklum anyway, right?
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Which is such a cool art also. And then I think the last chapter in this section, oh, there's two more chapters.
Breath and
One is on
mind. Yeah.
the science of breath, the
Yeah.
Gocho breath science, which is very important. Can you lift up page 130 and 131? They're facing pages
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we talk about the vagus. This is so important for breathing. And when you buy the book, you'll have this on page 130, 131. But the vagus nerve and its role in breath and breathing and nerve function and digestion and everything else in the body,
Mhm.
nose breathing and nitric oxide, VO2 max, or your
Uptake.
maximum oxygen uptake and breakdown,
Yeah.
lower abs breathing, or Sing Chita Dantian. What does that mean and how to do it? And there's diagrams. And then Gocho's breath control techniques. When do we inhale? When do we exhale? Why? So, for example, inhaling is with lifting and rising or floating, retraction and pulling and swallowing, retreat and invasion, and receiving force, right? Exhale are the opposites, and there's some additionals. And then something called the lion's roar, which you can read about in there, which is a way of moving energy from the lower abs or the dantian up through into the torso and out. And it helps with intention, that mental
Mhm.
intent. It gets that energy out. And intra-abdominal pressure, IAB, is so important for our Damo body, right, of the Tachon, and for how to breathe, and how there's four sections that need to move inward and outward simultaneously. And part of that is for taking blows, part of that is for
Yeah.
strength,
Yeah.
and a lot of that is for stabilizing around the spine to hold your core solid
Right.
during your techniques and movements.
Yeah.
And then there's a concept called extend seven, retain three, which is important both for striking and for breathing. That is explained in there. And then the mind, right? The heart mind and the intention and how to use the mind, and all within Gocho. All of this stuff is all from um, teachings of my Sifu Alex Ko from his teacher Tan Ka Hung, from his father Tan Kyung Bang to Chogyok Bang, and the original 10 Tigers, and many of them wrote books or articles, and then the next first line of students under them wrote articles and essays, and some wrote books. And having all this translated to one place, as well as all the oral teachings, is very important,
Yeah.
because everybody we see are out there. Not everybody, a lot of people are trying to like figure out what is the original true meaning of the art, and what does this really mean. you know is this really a punch, or is it a pressure point strike? Is it a trap? Is it a lock instead of a punch? Is that block
Right.
really an arm lock? It's like, you don't need to figure out anything in
Right.
Gocho, because now we have this book, and in this book it has everything laid out from the very basic uh, beginnings of posture and breathing, from the culture, the history, the development of the art. Everything was documented.
Mhm.
And Chogyok Bang and his first five tigers all passed the military exam. They were scholars, and they fought in the military, and they were warriors, and they were all healers, bone setters, and herbalists. It's like they knew all the stuff that this is why we have to do all this. We know anatomy and physiology and structure of the bone, so this is why our posture is the way it is. This is why the hips are tilted here and the thighs are pulled in here, and why we don't pull in the knees. Here's why this foot is turned in. And it's all explained. All of it is explained with the Chinese sayings, and then the translated, and then all of the commentary on the how and why.
Yeah.
And as each chapter progresses, you're being pulled back to be reminded about the why,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
No, a book of this nature, I mean, especially the tremendous amount of material that's in here, it's definitely one of those that you could look at it by the parts. You could study originally just part one, study the history, get the background, get the understanding, and then start working your way through reading the material on the technical contents, the refinements, the poetry to remind you about the details. Um, but a book of this nature, you're going to be coming back to a lot. So you're going to see mine filling up with little multicolored tabs on the top. And, I'll probably end up picking up a second one so I can have one pristine for giving away and one for taking my notes in. But yeah,
um, if you show please page
sure.
119, and then 20 and 21 are paired pages, are facing pages. Just in the general formula for posture, right? There's diagrams that goes with each heading. Okay. And then the next two-page spread, please.
Mhm.
So when you're practicing a form, every single move that you're doing, say it's Chen, you pull your hands back, and then you should go and look at all these points of the posture. Are the six golden points landed? Are the toes up? Are the legs stepping in movement? Are the ears and eyes doing what they're supposed to do? Are the shoulders sunk? Are the elbow hanging? Is the Dazwei point relaxed to circulate the chi? All of these are broken down with a graphic and an explanation. 9, 10, 11, 12. There's probably 15, 13 in this formula for the body. And every single move has to follow these 14, right? There may be something that's not needed in that view. For example, if it's a round punch and the elbows don't need to be hanging down, so there's still 13 left. But that's a good way to practice if
Hmm.
you've been in the art a while,
Right.
right? And you know 5 forms or whatever it
Hmm.
is. Just go pick a posture, one posture from the form, stand in it or stand in it, or do the technique and
Yep.
say, okay, is this happening? Is this happening? Is this happening? Is this happening? Is this happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like you just,
Yeah.
photocopy the pages and put it up on the wall,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
so, is your chin tucked? Are
Right.
the ears right over the thing? Or you have forward head posture, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
text neck looking down. It,
Right.
it all screws up. You don't think about it, but it screws up your root, right? So we can do those structure
Right.
tests we talk about where I'm pressing on you, right?
Yeah.
Your chest. And if you're aligned properly, you shouldn't move back because all the force is going straight down the
Hmm.
spine,
Hmm.
right? But if you poke your head forward, guess what? You fall right back. And once you've done that once, it should be a teaching
Right.
point of self-reference
Yeah. Yeah.
again
Yeah.
and again. But then people don't think
Yeah.
about it, and they're
Yeah. Yeah.
putting their heads forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So great point, Sifu. So I would say a tool like this should help you not in your training, but in your study, right? Your study, your
study.
practice. This isn't going to
It's a study
teach,
book.
it's not going to teach you anything. It's going to remind you all the things your teacher, Sifu Mark Wiley, or your teacher Sifu Russ Smith, or another teacher would be teaching you. The reminders are all in here. So when you're not in front of your computer, when you're not watching one of the recordings of our classes, go study, 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 practice, do it.
Do it. Do it. Do
Don't let
it.
this, don't let the art die in your hands, right? We can't be
Yeah,
those
and it's
people.
all you guys. It's not us. I'm just passing blame. Why not?
Well,
Why not?
you did your duty, right? So
Yeah,
the
I
to
feel
the
like I did.
ancestors for sure.
I've got
100%.
some really good people carrying on the tradition, like you,
Thank you,
who
Sifu.
got the full transmission of the inner gate, and
Thank you,
you're
Sifu.
teaching it in a new, fresh way, and you're passing it along, and you've got a good group of students. I mean,
Trying
that's
my best.
amazing.
I'm very
And
proud of them.
we need more. We need some of those guys, one or two, to come up and do the same in a little
Yep.
bit, a couple of years out,
Yep.
and some
Yep.
of my students as well, and other
Yep.
students. But
Yep.
I think no matter what your art, if it's a Southern fist art or an Okinawan art, this book is of value because all of the things talking about is universal to the Fujin styles, Fujo styles, and to
Sure.
the Okinawan styles that
Yeah.
that seem very related
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
You know, even if there's differences and stuff, there's a lot to glean. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Great
Yeah.
point. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Sifu. Look
You're
forward to next
welcome.
time. We'll cover part three. I look forward to that.
You too.
Be
Thank
well,
you.
Sifu. Thank you. Take care.